All right. Today I want to talk to you about building native apps with React Native. Of course, React Native produces native apps. And as React Native engineers, we have this problem with Xcode and with Android Studio. We just don't like to use them that much. And if we onboard new people to our React Native projects, we're getting to relive some past trauma, learning those iOS, Android, maybe other platforms, ecosystems. So when I was a web developer, I thought developing for multiple browsers was challenging, and then I learned React Native. So today I want to talk a little about a not so distant future where we could build our native apps without running our Xcode, without running our Android Studio, basically without the build step, at least for most of the time. So as Mike introduced me, I'm Michał, a principal engineer at Callstack, working here for over 7 years. And I'm available on X or Twitter and GitHub under these names. I've been involved in a decent amount of open source throughout the last few years. I've been contributing to Jest, the testing library, created React Native testing library, maintained the React Native community CLI, and a bunch of other open source libraries that we either created at Callstack or started to maintain as part of what we're doing for our clients. So can you imagine that React Native is 10 years old? Like if it was a, I don't know, little kid, it would be in 4th grade, or it would probably start coding pretty well, actually. React Native is 10 years old. This means that at Callstack we are doing this thing for over 9 years, and it's been a while. And as with any other technology, React Native has its adoption life cycle, where first we're a technology is like attracting some innovators. So first there was Meta, then Facebook open sourcing it. There are some early crazy people like Mike starting to ship products for his clients, and past that we have, when the technology is successful enough, we're getting into early adopter stage, then early majority, and the time flies. We're getting to some other companies adopting this technology that feels old to innovators and early adopters. And I think we're around here. So React Native is still in some early stages. Maybe I'm over optimistic here. What's important is the right side of this chart, our late majority and some laggards that have not heard about React Native, or heard, tried, didn't like it, it wasn't mature enough. But now, after those 10 years of development, things have changed. And at Callstack, we're working with pretty diverse set of clients that are using React Native in very creative and also uncreative ways. So they're embedding React Native in native iOS and Android apps. We have React Native code bases that are over 5 years old. That's not that uncommon. So we work with those early adopters that are still with React Native, still think it's a good idea. We have apps that are targeting over 10 platforms at the same time, mostly TVs or desktop. We have apps that are sharing code between web and mobile, but not that much code as you'd like or expect. They're only sharing some parts of it because the reality is in most of those companies, web teams are like totally separate from the mobile, and sometimes for a good reason, sometimes not really. So it's very, very dependent on the company. We have enterprises moving their teams and their developers between web and mobile teams back and forth. So that's something I've encountered pretty often, having a web engineer getting into this native app, a React native app that was abandoned for 2 years, and good luck with it. And last but not least, we have apps that just can't run with the default Metro bundler. So they need some alternatives, and it happens that Callstack has created and is developing Repack, which is alternative bundler allowing us to use RSPack and Webpack within React Native, and it's pretty cool. It's getting pretty fast with every RSPack release. So that's shout out to the RSPack team. They're doing an amazing work. So all those companies that I mentioned, they're running with a React Native community CLI. A lot of them don't want to or can't, for various reasons, adopt Expo, which is like a standard for new apps. And most of you would probably rather want to develop within full Expo ecosystem with their CLI instead of the React Native community CLI, which feels a little bare bones. So let's go through a memory lane. And Mike, do you recognize this shortcut, this acronym? Yeah. So this is RNPM, or React Native Package Manager, if I'm correct. This is a project that Mike created like 9 years ago because React Native was a new project. It didn't have a release process back then, and it was the first CLI for developers to have some kind of interface for running or building React Native applications for iOS and Android. And throughout that time, it evolved into React Native CLI, so it was pulled to the core of React Native. Started as a third-party library, ended up in the core of React Native, and a few years later, the lean core, React Native gets rid of a lot of now third-party libraries, and that's how React Native Community CLI came to be. And it allowed us, as a small team at Callstack, to iterate very quickly on this project, at least at the very beginning, because we weren't constrained with the pull request and code review process that meta engineers had for React Native. So it was just easier to ship, iterate, and that was a good time right around 2019, 2020. And at the same time, we had Expo with their Expo Go, and after a while adopting the continuous native generation and throwing away this I'm using Expo or React Native, and adopting this mindset of there is Expo and React Native, like we're building on top of it. It's an additive. So I think that was a game changer for Expo, and I'm glad they went this route. And at the same time, from the web perspective, we had React with single page apps, multi-page apps, powered like incrementally by React. We had server-side rendered applications. Then React went through fiber rewriting. I'm not gonna go into details on that. Then and now we're seeing this shift to server rendering and streaming server rendering with React Server components. So at some point, the React team and later on the React Native team said that, hey, you should use a framework, because using React on its own is not gonna pull you into the pit of success. It's just too hard. So you should use Next.js or Remix or some other blast framework so you don't shoot yourself in the foot. And a bit later, it turns out that for React Native, there's only one project that could be classified as an actual user-centric framework, and that was Expo. So this left the community CLI in a weird position where it started to have some of the core parts of it pulled back into the core, and this project evolved into being a very bare bones interface into like any React Native application, whether you would like to deploy it on any platform or do whatever with it, but it didn't focus on the developer experience. And as the time went by, from our perspective as the maintainers of the project, it started to be more and more challenging to contribute some meaningful developer experience changes because reasons. Let's put it that way. So it opened a spot for a new framework for React Native, and we actually we thought that the community CLI is actually pretty well positioned to be a somewhat a base for that new framework. And with all of our clients using the community CLI, for those that couldn't migrate to Expo or specifically Expo CLI or their services, there was a niche to fill, an actual need from the teams, from big teams adopting React Native at scale. So a few weeks ago, we actually announced that we're building that framework. We're building a framework specifically for React Native, for enterprises. So mostly big teams, mostly the teams that are big enough to have an infrastructure team, to have some scaling issues, and that are using the community CLI. And we thought that we wanted to be as modular and extensible as the React Native community CLI, and we wanted to be a 5 maximum 10-minute migration, at least to get the new experience that would unlock some other functionality. So the core principles that we have in mind when building this framework is the modular design, so we can plug in our own implementations or our own platforms for things that we want to change. We are building this for power users, so we acknowledge that people will like to change few things about your experience or capabilities of this framework. We also build it on a principle of self-hosting. This is something that we notice about a lot of those big enterprises. They like to stay within their own ecosystem of tools that they have today. So they often don't like to or just physically can't adopt third-party cloud. So they would use any tooling, any service providers that they have today. And if they have GCP or AWS or GitHub, they would like to build on top of that instead of adopting another service that would solve their problems with their own cloud. And last but not least, it's about incremental adoption. So we want to make it as easy as possible for all those companies using and all those apps using the community CLI to adopt our tool. So when I'm speaking about module configuration, our base configuration looks like this. We have a space for bundler, which you can pick, whether it's a Repack or Metro or anything else. You can put your plugin or use our ready-to-use plugins, and that's about it. You can define your own plugins that would hook into our CLI system, or build some extra functionality on top of the whole configuration, whole set of tools. We have platforms that are also plugins, but with some extra capabilities. And currently we ship with iOS and Android, and this setup opens us up to supporting TVs, desktops, some new platforms that are coming, and we have like extra entry for a remote cache provider, and this is a functionality that we're super excited to release to the public with this framework, because it allows for what Tim shared with Expensify case, from getting 30-minute builds into a few seconds or a few minutes. It depends on how you build, how you install your NPM modules, etc., etc. But the basic idea is that we allow you to plug in either your custom remote cache provider, or if you're using GitHub, you can use ours. So you can query, download, upload, or delete artifacts that are created on your CI, and cross-reference those builds between CI jobs, between end-to-end tests, performance tests, and developer machines. Because once you have something built on CI, why would you need to build it once again locally? And this is the feature that enables us to achieve those building native apps without the build step. If we're only changing JavaScript, we don't need to ever build our application. Our CI can do it for us. And the framework is designed for incremental adoption. So step 0 would be using our Brownfield setup, Brownfield plugin. This is something novel that it's actually not that new. We're using a particular technique of adopting React Native and native applications for multiple years now in our clients. That historically we were not able to open source, and we decided that we will open it as a part of our React Native Enterprise framework, because for the reasons I mentioned at the very beginning, that we're approaching this late adopters stage of React Native, it's going to be more and more important for React Native to be easily adoptable. Like it should be as easy to try React Native as import it as any other framework or library and just instantiate it in a native project. And we're allowing to do that. Once you're past the Brownfield migration or Brownfield adoption, or you have a existing React Native app, you can adopt our CLI. It should be around 10-minute migration. It's not not that complicated. It's designed to be a drop-in or almost drop-in replacement for the community CLI. And then you're open to some extra features that we're building. First one is remote cache, but we're building more. So I would like you to experience what this means in practice on a real project. So I'm going to demo how this works for Expensify as they adopted this project. And thank you, Expensify, for being an early adopter for our tool. So please shout out to all the Expensify folks here helping us with that. Okay, so I'm in Expensify code base. You can see that I'm running the Metro server here. And let me run iOS. So actually I was preparing for the demo, and what you experience is that I already had a cache of my project. So let's remove the remote cache and try it once again. So I'm gonna freshly npm install this project. So what I'm doing is I'm running run iOS command, and instead of building, it will check whether on GitHub there is a available artifact for the native representation of my project that's described by something called fingerprint or a hash. And you've just seen, I hope, that it was successfully downloaded to the cache folder. And now, because we don't have any simulator, it will ask me what simulator I want. I want an iPhone 16 Pro, because why not? So it's gonna open it for me. And it should install the Expensify app. And it just done that. And now we'll need to wait for Expo to connect, for Metro to connect to that app. It may take a while because Expensify is running React Native 77, and in 79 Metro implemented some performance optimizations that would allow this to start in seconds. Now we may wait for it to kick in. But what happened here is that our whole system detected that there is a artifact in a cloud that is available to download. So we downloaded it and installed and launched on the device. Oh, and you can see it now. So thank you, Metro, for improving performance as well. So that's one of the reasons you should be on the latest version. Expensify has a open branch for 79, so don't blame them on being on not the latest one. They're adopting it pretty fast, actually. So let's see what happened here. So we're on the Expensify GitHub. It's an open source. Like, isn't it amazing? Like, their whole project is open source. You can watch people working. It's not like AI agents or whatever. These are real people working on real issues. And what you see here is the view for the remote build for iOS, where we run our GitHub Actions that will build your application unless there is a matching artifact stored in GitHub storage. So we can see here that there are some these are iOS builds on some macOS runners running 3 minutes, 1 minute, 1 minute. This is weird, right? So if you ever build a iOS application on a CI, it's not taking 1 minute. So let's see what's happening here. We have this new Expensify, okay. And we have this job, which is, which is taking like 59 seconds, is setting up Node. This is like installing NPM. So it's not always coming from 30 minutes to 7 seconds. It's actually 7 seconds plus NPM install. So there is an opportunity to make it faster. But what's happening here is we have those GitHub Actions that will produce that will calculate the hash for a project. And this hash, you can see here, it's something 4721, I don't remember anymore. And we should find the same hash here. Because locally, we have the same representation of our native project as we have on the CI. So when we see that, we're just like, okay, I'll spare you that. We're just skipping the build, and that's why it takes 6 seconds instead of 30 minutes. And you can see that normally it takes around 30 minutes. Because there's 1 minute, 1 minute. Oh yeah, we have 28 minutes. So this is actual iOS build. There are some iOS changes. Oh, it was canceled by some auto builds, so that's not helpful. But I hope you get the idea. So once in a while we have an actual iOS build that takes 30 minutes, and then we have a lot of those cached ones, because what happens is Expensify developers are not changing native files that much. So there's no need to do that, to do the builds. Okay, we have 2 jobs completed, and you can see that here we're like 25 minutes, and we're running actual iOS build. So if you ever build for iOS, you know these glyphs. You don't want to look at them too much. So I'm gonna spare you that. And one interesting trait of having those reusable builds is that we can like okay, let's try to see what Tim was working on. Yeah, so this was actually canceled. So sorry. Let's see this one. So we'll see what Rory was working on. It's not that simple to operate this on one hand, but I hope you're bearing with me. So I can check out. No, it didn't copy. So I'm trying to check out to a specific commit to see what's there. So my friend is working on something, and now I can. And normally, what would happen? I would need to build this stuff locally to make a code review. And now I can run this, and again, I'm downloading the stuff from GitHub. So it's live. It's working there for Expensify. We are like incrementally rolling out this for them. But what we're seeing, we have a work of our friend available in a couple of seconds. And this is not only available for developers, we're also producing device builds for QAs that are signed and that we are re-signing with new JavaScript bundle. So that's the end of the demo. Thank you very much. So what happened here? What I just showed was the remote caching feature, something that we were able to build thanks to Expo fingerprint library, and something that's also experimentally available on their EAS service. So if you're using that, you should definitely give it a try. So it's about smart reuse of native build artifacts. We ship with out-of-the-box integration with GitHub Actions. So most of our clients are having GitHub Actions set up or GitHub set up. So that was easy to try and implement for them. And we'll have custom adapters for S3 or R2 or Circle CI, although that's a bit tricky with their approach to single sign-on and some other CI providers. So we can provide you with implementations, or you can build your own implementations for even your custom providers. If you are AWS or some disruptor of AWS and want to build something for them, you can provide it for your users as well. And it works more or less in this way. The CLI will calculate the checksum. When you run Android, we'll try whether the build, we'll check whether build with that checksum is available on the GitHub. We're using GitHub API for that. If you're implementing your own provider, you'll implement that logic. And if it's there, we serve you the remote cache. If it's not there, we tell our GitHub Action or any other CI provider that it's time to build application and then store a new artifact so no one else will need to build this. And with that, you can achieve those 20, 30 seconds release or debug builds in your project most of the time. So another thing that we're super excited about with Enterprise Framework is a new approach to Brownfield. So today we integrate we integrate React Native in native applications, which we call the Brownfield approach, in a pretty tightly coupled way. So we need to integrate React Native with all the dependencies, etc., within our native project. So it works more or less like this. We need to set up a directory in a way that React Native understands, and that's compatible with your iOS or Android project. This can already be like a blocker for anyone want to try React Native in their native application. Then once you're done with that, you'll need to set up npm dependencies, and for iOS, you will need to set up CocoaPods. And guess what? Most of the industry moved off CocoaPods. They're using SPM or maybe something else. So another blocker. Native iOS developers don't want to use CocoaPods. That's it. No React Native. Go away. So once you pass that, we can then integrate React Native dependencies into our native build tools. So that means a lot of fiddling with Gradle, with Gemfile, with Xcode files, and so on and so forth. And once you pass that and got through all those blockers, you can then import React, a couple of libraries from React, and instantiate your React Native application as a view, as a whole view, or whatever else. So we wanna, with our approach, we're removing all of those three pesky things, and we hope that to simplify it into three-step approach. So we don't want to tightly integrate React Native into your project. We want you as a native developer to import React Native as a React Native views as any other library or framework in your app. So we will ask you to install a Brownfield plugin and run a package command that will, for a given platform like iOS, it will produce a XC framework from your React Native application. Or for iOS, it will create a AAR. And all you need to do as a native engineer is configure those frameworks in your native app. And as a React Native engineer, maybe you'll need to add extra target for those frameworks. It's really not that complicated. And so once you've done that, so you can do it in a couple of minutes. Actually, I mean, it's not happening that fast for most of our clients. But the idea is that you should be able to. And once you've done it, you can import React and instantiate it in a React Native app. But we don't have React. We have our framework. So we'll just import our new framework that we produce from our React Native application and just instantiate that the same as we've done it in previous approaches. So we were deploying that, and we are deploying that for our clients for over 5 years now, and they're very happy with the results. And this is a setup that allows their iOS and Android engineers work with React Native engineers without almost talking to each other, because those native engineers don't need to think about NPM or starting Metro. I mean, they can if they want to develop some parts of React Native, but they don't have to. And this is like very liberating for them. So I'm super excited to tell you that we've just open sourced this framework for you, and it's available at Callstack/RNEF, which is acronym for React Native Enterprise Framework. And you can scan the QR code to open the project, and feel free to do it right now and give it a star. React Native just got a new framework that's not just being talked about. It's actually open source, and this is a huge relief for me. And time to fix a lot of those bugs when we're going to integrate it with more and more applications. So to start with the project, you can either run npm create RNAF app, and it will welcome you with this small welcome screen. It will ask you what's your app name, what are the platforms that you're supporting, what is the bundler, maybe some other questions, but that's about it. So you'll be able to try it for a new project. But this is actually not our target, because as I mentioned, we're building this for existing projects. So typically we'll ask you to migrate off of Community CLI, and it's a manual process today, which we will automate in the future. But this is what you can do to play with this. Or if you want to try it in your native application and don't have a React Native application, you can use create app to instantiate a project that's already configured for Brownfield iOS and Android plugins. And we have documentation. If you scan this QR code or open the GitHub and access the project description, you'll have access to the docs. Inside, we will guide you on how to migrate, how to start fresh, and what's this remote cache thing, how this works on iOS, Android, what are the ideas that we try propagate and tell the world. about what we're building, and so on and so forth. It's actually pretty brief, but we try to convey as much of the necessary information for you as possible. And we have an active roadmap because this is just the beginning. So we will include out-of-the-box integrations for TV platforms, and hopefully with some help from Microsoft for desktop platforms. We will provide you with ability to self-host your over-the-air update server. This is something that we're actively researching. There's a bunch of alternatives to code push that are able to that just started to appear after sunsetting of that great service, and we want to provide you with the ability to be able to OTA your code to your users. We'll provide continuous native generation, so you'll be able to generate your Android and iOS folders as you do with Expo config plugins today. There is a React server component experimental track that we're trying with React navigation, so we'll definitely want to include that as a part of our framework. Also, self-hosted, so it may be a bit more work for you to try it than some alternatives, which will provide you some seamless out-of-the-box experience with their clouds. But some of our clients just need this flexibility. We'll provide you with more cache providers, something that I already mentioned, and something that is actually already possible, which is micro frontends available with Repack, which supports module federation, and we have a Repack plugin bundled within our repository today, so you can use it and you can build mobile micro frontends with that, and something that you may also be interested. We're bringing module federation to Metro as well. So in a couple of months, hopefully you'll be able to try and use module federation with your React Native apps that are using Metro and with your Expo apps, which is amazing. And that's it for me. Thank you very much for staying with me for all this talk. Please open our repository, give it a star, check the documentation, and enjoy the rest of the day, of the evening, and this event. Thank you very much.